Welcome to Grand Canyon University's SEC 502 Professional Teaching Standards Assignment. This is Nicola Simons. I am a student at Grand Canyon University, earning my ME in Secondary Education in History. The objective of this presentation is to compare and discuss InTask to NCSS. So we will be discussing what is the Interstate New Teachers Assessment and Support Consortium, what is the National Council for the Social Studies, how can teachers implement these standards, what are two common themes shared by the InTask and the NCSS, how do these standards address professional collaboration, how do these standards address data-driven instructional decision-making, and how can the teacher improve practices and advance the profession of teaching? InTask is Interstate New Teacher Assessment and Support Consortium. It is a resource for continued education of teachers. It is established by the Council of Chief State School Officers, and there are 10 standards outlined by the Council. The 10 standards are as follows. The first 3 have to do with the learner and the learning. Teachers need to understand how learners develop and to recognize that students have individualized learning within cognitive, linguistic, social, emotional, and physical differences. Teachers need to design curriculums according to each individual's need. Much like the Bible tends to speak to you as an individual, your curriculum as a teacher needs to speak to the classroom as a whole, but also single out each individual to touch upon something relevant to each student. A teacher needs to understand the diversities of their students. This ensures an inclusive learning environment. We need to work with others for collaborative learning that supports a positive social interaction and actively engages in learning. Be self-motivated to grow as an educator, which in turn will encourage your students to do the same. The 4 and 5 standard has to do with content knowledge. The teacher understands the tools and the content he or she is teaching and creates a lesson plan that is inclusive to all learners and that the content is accurate and up to date. The teacher needs to be able to use different techniques and perspectives to get all learners to use critical thinking and that the students are engaged in collaborative work that is relevant to local and worldly issues. 6, 7, and 8 have to do with instructional practices. Assessment of whether the student has retained and not just regurgitated information. This is not enough. Teachers need to use multiple methods of discovering if a student has understood the material. They need to monitor their progress throughout the course and know what they have learned, how far they've come, and how much further they need to go. Engaging in a planned curriculum that encourages each student to succeed and have strong work and educational ethics by utilizing the content from cross-disciplinary skills, pedagogies, and having an understanding and knowledge of the individual learner. Connecting with each student through multiple methods and bringing the content to life by finding a commonality with the material and the subject will ensure critical thinking and full participation. 9 and 10 has to do with your professional responsibility. The teacher is responsible for continuing their own education and growth by assessing his or her own skills and knowledge, discovering how actions affect others, and having the ability to adapt new practices. The teacher should seek leadership opportunities that encourage learning, to collaborate with students, colleagues, community members, parents, and those in the field of early childhood development. These 10 goals or standards line up with the 5 in the National Council for Social Studies, National Standards for the Preparation of Social Studies Teachers. For my field of history, it is important that I adhere to the 5 standards that are set by the National Council for Social Studies. These 5, though we only needed to find 2 similar themes, each of these policies or standards coincide with the InTask standards. One must have content knowledge, application of content knowledge, design and implementation of instruction and assessment. They should also be able to speak properly. Social studies, learners and learning, and professional responsibility and informed action. Informed action. First is the content knowledge. As with the InTask, one of many related themes is content knowledge. With social studies, one must be up to date on the subjects of civics, history, geography, and social behavioral science. This includes concepts, tools, facts, disciplinary inquiry, and disciplinary forms of representation in the above subjects. Next is application of content knowledge. Again, similar to the InTask, creating plans that determine whether the knowledge is received and understood, and that multiple tools were used to assess the student's growth. The next is design and implementation of instruction and assessment. To design a plan that can not only instruct but also assess, as within InTask, this is a vital key ingredient to becoming a successful educator. Designing a variation of ways of authentic assessment and demonstrating an alignment with state standards of content. The use of data to measure growth and to measure instructional viability. Social studies learners and learning. Another similarity with InTask is an emphasis on collaboration. By using knowledge of learners to plan and implement relevant pedagogy, to create a collaborative work environment, giving the learner the opportunity to not only learn the material, but also to learn other perspectives, tools, and techniques to encourage individual growth while supporting each other. Professional responsibility and informed action. Teachers should reflect on their own growth, knowledge of the subject matter, tools, techniques, and to be a motivated learner gives you the ability to stay current and relevant to your students. For the social studies standards, it is important to promote civic awareness in order to advance social justice and to promote human rights through informed actions in schools and community. Why teachers should adhere to the InTask and SPA, not only the related themes, but each of the 10 and all of the 5, It is a teacher's responsibility to teach, and to do so, they must aspire to learn about their students and how they learn as individuals. They must inquire that each individual is obtaining and retaining the information taught. They need to motivate youth to learn more, be more, and achieve more. We need to encourage in our students and ourselves to build networks with colleagues and motivate students to build relationship with others. Despite what some may think, these standards are not unattainable, as Stopsky said in 1999, but a teacher needs to go the extra mile. These standards are most definitely attainable. The common theme, the NCSS and the NTAC, that should read NTASC, pardon my editing, share key components of basic foundational goals. While one sets the main standards for overall, the other individualizes the subject area for specific course in education. While both maintain a high set of standards, they are realistic. The goal of both is to prepare teachers for success and for the success of students with individualized needs, learning styles, and diverse cultures, to be inclusive in education, fair and decent, to master your craft and pass that mastery down so that it encourages higher learning from our youth, encourages civic responsibility, encourages growth as a person, self-reflection, self-awareness, community-minded, professional people. These are my sources. I referenced the accreditation by design construction of an instrument to measure teacher candidates' perceptions of preparedness to meet in-task standards that appeared in the Journal of Educational Research and Innovation, written by Florin and Hess, and another journal article on the use of the in-task principles and standards, as well as a older, which I don't like to use, but I had to reach back to find a journal article written specifically about the NCSS standards, and this was one that the author believed that the quest for these unattainable standards, however, I can say they are quite attainable. Thank you.